Welcome, my name is Irina Garbinger, Project Manager with GWNet, the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition. On behalf of GWNet, I am presenting the next portrait of the Energy Transition Role Model series. This initiative is supported by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. I am here today with Morwesi Ramonyai. Morwesi is an impact entrepreneur with a passion for advancing access to energy as a solution to the energy poverty problem. She is founder and managing director of Borena Energy, a company that develops solar PV projects and solutions on a turnkey basis. Borena Energy operates in South Africa and Zimbabwe in both the commercial and industrial sector, as well as rural, remote and off-grid communities. Morwesi was also founding team member and chief commercial officer of The Sun Exchange, an award-winning blockchain-based alternative funding company. Through her social impact project called What a Woman, she aspires to realize the inclusion of women in the solar ecosystem. Morwesi was selected the 2016 Mandela Washington Fellow of the US government's Young African Leaders Initiative. She was also awarded a research grant by the UK's Royal Academy of Engineering, which enabled her, in partnership with the University of Exeter, to co-develop a unique tool called STAR to conduct socio-technical risk assessments of rural renewable energy projects. Welcome, Morwesi. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So let's move to the first question. What has your journey to sustainable energy entrepreneurship looked like?
So around 2009, a friend of mine and I were sitting around and just speculating around what future business opportunities there are. And it is around that time that South Africa was announcing that they're going to introduce a renewable energy independent power producer program. Purely from an enterprising perspective, this friend of mine and I decided to partner and to, go and look for this license. And we got involved, we put in a bid. It was to develop a 5 megawatt solar PV plant. I knew absolutely nothing about renewable energy or energy whatsoever. And, a few years down the line, we had to abandon our license application, but I had fallen in love with renewable energy and I'd learned a lot in that process. And since then I thought, well, if I'm going to go into business, I will take a piece of that, value chain that I've been exposed to, but just scale it down. And that's when I started Borena Energy, and as a small EPC company, and the rest is history. I'm still here.
So what is it that motivates you in your day-to-day work?
So, aside from falling in love with this industry that's very pioneering and that's very important and impactful just for the future of the planet in general, it's also quite significant and central to development of the continent of Africa and the developing world in general. Access to energy is a real problem. I think a lot of people are working hard on solving the access to energy problem, but it still remains. So for me, it's a challenge, and a very interesting one, and a very meaningful one, and that's what motivates me to keep going, because I'd like to be at the leading edge of that solution.
So far, what has been your severest hurdle and your proudest success?
My proudest success, I would say, is just being able to be recognized in many ways for the type of work that I do, and to be recognized for the impact of the work that I do, because access to energy suddenly unlocks all kinds of other access to safety, access to just productivity, access to education, and it just really means so much more. And just being able to be recognized for the kind of work that I do there, being able to work with communities and show them and expose them to some of the big opportunities that can come through with having access to energy, and being embraced by some of the communities that I work with, for me is proud. Is really some of my proudest moments. These are private victories, and they mean a lot to me. And it's good when you enter a community and the people recognize you, know you, and treat you and call you as one of their own, because they understand that you've got their best interests at heart. Some of my challenges, when you operate a business like mine, and you move from project to project, your cash flows are not very constant a lot of the times, and that has gotten me to lose some of my team members now and again because I cannot retain them. And it's been a bit of a difficult one for the first early stages. I've had to come up with strategies to work around that. But losing team members that have been valuable has been probably some of my hardest setbacks. And just losing on bigger projects because we don't have the capacity to actually take that on has also been quite difficult.
On another note, what career paths do you think could lead other young women to entrepreneurial activities like yours?
I think if one is driven to solve a problem, you can find your way into this sector. I've seen the hard sort of technical engineering type of career paths that lead you here. There's also social sciences I find are very relevant in the space. You're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with development problems, you're dealing with socio-economic challenges. And sustainability in general is a lot more broader. I'm finding myself doing a lot of advisory and consultancy as well in sustainability, carbon footprint analysis and that type of thing. And so, I can't say any specific career path, but I think definitely the hard engineering types, definitely. But I think the social sciences and the commercial type of careers do lend themselves very well. It's such a huge ecosystem, the sustainability space, that you need everything from legal to technical to social work right through.
Do you see any specific skills or any personal traits a woman needs to be a successful sustainable energy entrepreneur?
Well, it is a heavily male-dominated industry, I think as a woman, one needs to not be held back by their gender, first of all. Personally, anyway, it's a personal belief anyway. I think masculinity and femininity exists in all of us. It's characteristics, and it's not so much a gender issue. But when necessary, I think one needs to embrace the masculine abilities, and when necessary, need to embrace their feminine abilities, and it works in both ends. Like I said, we work in a hard environment that you could say is very masculine, but we work with people, which it really requires a very a feminine side of who we are. And I think women have a very great ability to maneuver between those two characteristics. I found that that's pretty easy for me to do. And also the world is such that women are such rare and few in these type of industries, such as energy and renewable energy. It's a brilliant opportunity for women to break into it. It is probably and possibly a little bit easier to access opportunities, to access funding and funding opportunities, to secure partnerships. And the network is very strong around women because there's just this desperate need to see women thrive and flourish. So I see it as more as an opportunity than as a challenge that I'm a woman in this very hard industry.
Based on your experience, where do you see the opportunities and challenges for women wanting to make a difference as entrepreneurs in sustainable energy?
And I think it's across the board. I think as a somebody interested in a career in this space, one needs to just map out the value chain and understand what this industry looks like, and sort of identify where they see themselves. But even within any organization, there's always going to be a need for particular skills, business development, financial management, project management, the project development, project support, community engagement. And those are the kinds of skills that are necessary. And I think women can definitely champion all of them. And it's just so, I think the opportunity is wide open. And I think the world is ready for women to lead these types of institutions and to break through.
Do you have a recipe for combining your career with family or your personal life?
No. I think the best way to win in your work and life and bringing those two together is to make sure that your work is your life and your life is your work. Sustainability has become my life and my lifestyle, and has become who I am and what I do. So, it doesn't feel like I'm cutting over to work when I leave home and I continue my professional life. But also, I guess working for myself has given me, just on a practical level, has given me the flexibility that I need. So I'm able to manage my time and manage my family around that. It's and also it's giving me the financial freedom to do what I want when I want it. So I think just working for yourself and owning your time is probably the best contributor to a very healthy work-life balance.
Now, if you look back on your professional career, is there something that you would do differently?
Something I would do differently, I think I would have started this a lot earlier. I think I would have started it a lot earlier. It's certainly far more fun and far more meaningful. But I do believe that everything happens the way it should have. I think everything, that even the setbacks that I've suffered, have been just very useful to my own learning journey. So certainly probably just started a little bit earlier and probably partnered better, actually, now that I'm remembering. Probably partnered better, because it's hard to find good partners that will work with you and share your vision.
Can you share your most important do's and don'ts that you encountered during your professional journey as an entrepreneur?
I think if I pick up on the very last question, don't be quick to partner. Take your time and understand what the value is that everybody's bringing, and look for a fair deal, for yourself, in all partnership arrangements. I think some of the do's, definitely work at your profile, work at your network, build your network, keep up to date with trends, with information, with organizations that are in the space, and put your hand up, for opportunities to speak, for opportunities to write, for opportunities to attend events or conferences. That's where the network, grows, because, you meet like-minded people, and like-minded people are the ones that are going to be your scaffold when you need it most.
Which governmental framework conditions do you think are needed to support women as entrepreneurs?
Governments really need to be far more intentional. They need to put the instruments that are necessary to make this happen in place, put the necessary incentives in place, put the necessary tax arrangements in place, and really encourage participants, encourage the economy to just realize this transformation. The transition is here. We know there's no way we can turn back. The energy transition is here. Climate action is real, and gender parity and equity is urgent. So I do think that governments have to be intentional by actively putting in instruments to make this happen, and policies that are going to support that.
Now, lastly, what message is it that you would give to the next generation of women who would like to become entrepreneurs in sustainable energy?
All right, so my message to the next generation is that access to energy is urgent. Access to energy is a desperate need. Access to energy is a pathway to just unlocking so many other accesses. Women and children suffer the most because of energy poverty. And also this is just such a huge opportunity to make an impact. So I would really, really encourage the next generation to think about it very hard and intentionally, and to understand that it is doable. The solutions are there. We just need to think differently about it and change the landscape as it stands. If it means we must embrace new ways of thinking, democratizing the sector, or leveraging on the sharing economy, or just using technology, using artificial intelligence, whatever it is, I think we all have to put our hands on deck and make sure that we can solve the access to energy problem, because when we do that, we solve so many other problems, and the world will be a better place for all. Thank you.